He's gonna say some things. Cafes and flares. He's gonna say some things. Cafes and flares. You may not agree. Cafes and flares. He's still gonna say those things. Cafes and flares. Cafes and flares. Thassos talk Cyprus football. Woo!
Oh, hello there. Hi guys. Hi, how you doing? You feeling good? I'm feeling good. There's no Stella here, once again, which means I get to talk uninterrupted for about 15-20 minutes, unless, there's going to be some kind of edit that comes across here that, ruins stuff a little bit. But other than that, it's great, isn't it? It's great. It's just me and you. You over there. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, Pedro kind of dropped me in it asking for a video of me talking about coefficients. Yes. Ah, what a beautiful subject to talk about, especially considering how well our teams are doing in Europe. Just a caveat Europe specifically. Um, not going to talk about domestically how my team and your team are doing. Let's just concentrate on Europe for now, because that's where the positives lie. So, before I start talking about that, though, I've got to do the whole thing where, or click the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, tickle that little bell, put a comment in. Tell me how wrong I am if I'm wrong. Tell me how correct I am if you think I'm correct. Either way, I'm going to respond to you and say you're wrong, because that's how engagement happens. You drive engagement, you get more stuff on the algorithm, and everybody loves it. Oh, the internet, yes. Anyway, in the meantime, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? So, in essence, we're going to talk about uh, coefficients. Again, thank you to Pedro. We're going to talk about some UEFA association coefficients. So, let's start from the beginning. Cyprus has, at least for this season, had 4 spots in European competitions. There was one in the Champions League qualifying position in the second round, which went to the league winner from last season, Abuel. There was also a spot in Europa League qualifying rounds for the cup winners, so BAFO, and 2 spots in the Europa League qualification for second and third place, AEK and Omonia. Let's not beat around the bush. Things didn't start off too great for some of the teams. So we've got, in the second round of the Champions League qualifying, you have Abuel barely scraping past Petrocub Hinchesti from Moldova, 2-1 on aggregate. But getting through that round meant that Abuel automatically went into a league stage regardless of if they lost all the other matches that they had to go through, because they could still get into the Conference League stage. In the third qualifying round of the Champions League, they ended up with Slovan Bratislava, and they went 2-0 on aggregate, a loss. So, EXO! So they still go into the Europa League qualifiers, into the playoff round, where they got Latvia's RFS. There's me. There's a recording of me saying, if we don't get past RFS, then what are we doing here? And guess what, guys? Guess what? I mean, we all know guess what, because Apoel ended up in the Conference League. They went out to RFS on penalties. So the first leg in Latvia ended 2-1 a 2-1 loss, and that 2-1 loss cost Gallejo his job. And a 2-1 win at the Racing meant the tie went to penalties, which RFS won 4-2. Again, Conference League football. Yeah. So, a side note on that as well. I don't know if people remember, but Betridis, before the matches with RFS, said Abuel is too good for the Conference League. Yeah, we're not too good for the Conference League. Anyway, Bafo's next. Bafo entered the Europa League first qualifying round and drew in the round in the picking they drew Sweden's IF Elfsborg, who proceeded to hand them their asses, with Bafo losing 8-2 on aggregate. So they dropped down to the Conference League second qualifying round, where they met Lithuanian team Zalgiris, who they beat 4-2 on aggregate, but they had to take the second leg to extra time. That's going to keep happening. They lost 2-1 in the first leg, and were winning 1-0 in the Afamera. So there you go. In the third round, they had Bulgaria CSKA 1948, where again they lost 2-1 in the first leg. Clawed the tie back in the second leg with in Lemeso again. And they ended up beating them 5-2 on aggregate, with loads of goals coming in at extra time. In the playoff round, they played Romania's Cluj, where they lost the first leg again. And then in Lemeso, won the tie to win the whole thing 3-1 on aggregate. So they got into the Conference League. There was an interruption. So here is a transition. Ajax entered the Conference League qualifying in the second round, where they met Hungary's Paxi, which they lost 5-0 to on aggregate. Their head coach lasted 2 games. Exa! Then, of course, I know where I am, so we need to talk about this a little bit as well. Omonia also started in the second qualifying round, but basically walked. They walked it all the way to the Conference League stage, as we've talked about previously. You know, those players that have shown up for Omonia seem to be playing well on a Thursday, and then the weekend just like to phone it in. I mean, I don't want to call it phoning it in, but it seems to be reflected across the network that Omonia has players at the moment. They really love their Thursday nights. I just want to keep their weekends free. Anyway, don't have anybody to respond to that, so I can say whatever the hell I want. Anyway, so we start off with second qualifying round, where Omonia get Georgia's Torpedo Kutaisi, who they beat 5-2 on aggregate, which is followed by a 3-0 win on aggregate versus Hungary's Fehervar or Videoton or whatever they're calling themselves this week. And then we get to the playoff round, where Omonia get Zira from Azerbaijan and absolutely steamrolled them in the first leg 6-0. And then some words need to be had, because there was a 1-0 defeat in Baku. We'll talk about why we need to have a word about that kind of further down there. But yeah, they lose 1-0 in Baku, but they go through 6-1 on aggregate. So Conference League for them as well. So the country has 3 teams in the Conference League stage. Now, as of me recording this, the teams have played 5 of the 6 games in the league phase. phase, enunciate, Thassos, phase. And Apoel and Paphos have guaranteed themselves at least a playoff round place, which means a minimum 2 more games before the round of 16. Omonia, while struggling a little, are still masters of their own destiny for getting into the playoffs because they're in the playoff places. So that's still a chance for Omonia to be able to get in there. There's more than a good chance. I think we can safely say that. So anyway, this is the first league version of the Conference League proper, and it looks like the Cyprus teams are made for this competition. No, we're doing pretty well in it, I think. And it's even more surprising considering Apoel started off their the league phase campaign with a draw and a loss versus Shamrock Rovers and Banja Luka. Anyway, let's not concentrate on the negatives. Positives. They beat Fiorentina. Omonia is still somehow in there despite losing 3 times. However, they've got 2 wins versus Rapid Vienna and Vikinger. Bafo lost 3-2 to Fiorentina, but they have also managed 3 wins versus Sedgya, Astana, and Petrokop. Petrokop are not having a good time against Cypriot teams. Anyway, so the performances of the teams in European competitions count towards the Cypriot Football Association's coefficient as well as the club's own coefficient. But this video is specifically about the association coefficient. Now, the higher that coefficient is, the more teams from the association can enter European competitions and at later stages of those European competitions. Now, how are these calculated? Well, according to the UEFA website, I don't know why we cut a transition in there. It's not that complicated. So, try and pay attention. It's not that complicated. So, points are awarded to clubs with 2 points for a win and 1 point for a draw in the league phase. And then you got half of that for the qualifiers. So if you win in the qualifiers, it's 1 point. If you draw, it's half a point. There's nothing though for your losers. Anyway, there are also bonus points handed to clubs based on where they finish in the league phase, with a maximum of 4 points for that top place in the league phase, in the Conference League. The total amount of points over the season is then divided by the amount of teams that entered the European competitions in the first place. So, I worked it out. Apoel at the moment have got 9.5 points. However, there's a minimum additional 0.625 points for finishing as low as 23rd in the league phase, but they could still also come second. They could still also come second. So imagine all results work the way that we want them to. Apoel sits second. There's a few more points to add on to that list. Omonia have 9 points so far. We don't know. I can't work out a minimum because they could still lose out from the playoff places. So that could be a final one. Obviously, for coefficient's sake, we'd want them to at least make the playoff places. So if you can come into the last playoff place to be successful but not that successful, so we can still have the rub it in bit, I can rub it in a little bit. Still, that'd be great. But anyway, Bafor also have 9 points so far, and they can have a minimum additional of 0.25 points for finishing as low as 23rd, but they could still also finish third. This league phase thing is weird. Anyway, AEK have 0. What is 0? Like now, imagine. So I'm going to do the zeros like this, but it's doing that because the anguri is Zavo. Yes, the cucumber is very wonky. 0 points from AEK, and I cannot state this enough. AEK have basically done a number on the coefficient, because the coefficient again has to be divided by 4, and the fact that they've got 0 points means our average goes. Now, it does mean, however, that Cyprus have got 7 points from this season based off of the calculations. I did the maths. Somebody else did the maths as well, but basically we've got 7 points at the moment on the coefficient table. The last time Cyprus had 7 coefficient points was in 2017-18, where Apoel got into the Champions League group phases and ended up drawing 2 games versus Borussia Dortmund and didn't do much else. Listen, the other 2 teams except for Borussia Dortmund were Tottenham and Real Madrid. What do you want? What do you want from us? What do you want? Like, what else? Anyway, Apollon got into the Europa League group stages, drawing 3 games in a group that had Everton, Atalanta, and Lyon. And AEK got knocked out of the playoffs of the Europa League qualifying by Victoria Plzen. So, once again, listen, I'm not gonna keep digging in on AEK, or am I? I might. It's fun. So we didn't. Again, coefficient-wise, we didn't even get that many points when AEK made it to the Conference League quarterfinals, because everybody else was at fault that season. Only AEK managed to have a good European campaign. That year, Cyprus only got 5.1 points. The only time Cyprus have picked up more than 7 points in the season coefficients was in 2011-2012, which, if people remember, was when Apoel did that run to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Now, the full coefficient is an aggregate of the latest 5 seasons, and the changes to increases in teams taking part or entering at a latter stage take place 2 seasons after the latest seasons. So any changes in position for Cyprus this season will be advantageous in 2 seasons' time. Now, thanks to this big jump in points from this season, Cyprus are currently sat in 20th out of all the associations, just above Sweden and just below Croatia. Cyprus, at the beginning of the season, were placed in 23rd place, which is why we ended up with a team in the first round of Champions League qualifying, 1 team in the first round of the Europa League qualifying, and 2 teams in the second round of Europa Conference League qualifying. But associations finishing between 16th and 22nd place get their league winners into the second qualifying rounds of the Champions League, and for Cyprus, the cup winner into the second round of the qualifying for the Europa League. So it means then that whoever wins the league automatically has a place at least in the Conference League stage, because you get to the second qualifying round of the Champions League, you could, in theory, lose all your games in the qualifying. You could still end up in the Conference League stage, and hey, fireworks, fantastic! We made it. We made it to European competition. Woo!
This is a transition because Thassos messed up.
Cyprus, a reminder, is currently in 20th place. There's a bit of a jump in points to Croatia in 19th. However, they still only have one team left in Europe, and Dynamo Zagreb are currently sat in the last playoff place in the Champions League. So there's a chance that we could get enough points to go over Croatia. There's a bit of a gap though, but I don't see Cyprus getting enough points to displace Poland, Switzerland, Scotland, or Austria though. So I don't think 15th place is going to be possible anytime soon. 15th place gets 2 teams in the second round of the Champions League qualifying and 1 team in the third round of Europa League qualifying. So that means 3 teams can get Conference League stage as a minimum on that. So, be good to be able to knock into 15th place, but again, very difficult. Very, very difficult. But next season, though, so there you go. Bit more info on that. Bit more info on that for people who might not necessarily know about it or can't be bothered to look it up themselves. I'm here for you to do that. So, you probably already follow us on all the social medias, but just in case you don't, this is Mappa on Instagram and Twitter. Flares Kafes or Kafes Flares, I don't know what the hell it is. It's one or the other, but that's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And again, like, subscribe, do the stuff. NC Network is on Instagram. It's also on Twitter. We've got a Stel does, if you're an Omonia fan and you don't already do that, Stel has a Patreon where he does all the analysis pre and post games for Omonia. There's also the interviews are hidden behind the paywall as well, at least to start off with. Go and have a look. I think it's €3 a month. Go have a look. Have a good time. It's fun. It's fun. Do the stuff. Do the stuff. Do the stuff. And, see you, I don't know, see you next time. Bye.